All right. It's time for another episode of the Sci-Fi podcast. I still need a theme. Da 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 Sci-Fi. I like that because there's a little bit of a trumpeting sound to it and abject terror, which I think is a good and encapsulates who I am certainly and what I have to give the world of podcasting. So I'm going to talk about Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. There we go. The Rise of Skywalkers. That's a whole different thing. Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9. That's going to be what I'm going to talk about today. Now, I know the plan when I created this podcast was to talk about... I'm talking like people are listening. Well, you know what? Let's assume that they are. According to the stats, there were at least 3 people who listened. It might have been me clicking on the button 3 times. I don't know. But let's assume you're listening. So, my plan originally was I wanted to just focus on the classic sci-fi, the novels and movies and that kind of thing. But I was asked via Twitter to talk about this one. A, and B, it's in the it's in the sphere right now. It's in the ether. It's in the zeitgeist. Pretty hot zeitgeist stuff happening. And so I've been thinking about it, and it's been everywhere. So I'm going to talk about it. There you go. I'm making an executive decision. We're going to talk about it. Okay. Episode 9, Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker. Look, overall, I liked it. It was fun. It's cute. I like the main characters. I think they're interesting and engaging. There was a lot of, there was humor throughout it, which is one big thing I always ask for, that there's humor. It had a nice pep to it. John Williams, of course, always doing an awesome job on the score. It's not a bad movie. Is it the best of the movies? I would say no. But overall, a lot of work went into it, and it's fun. So, I just want everyone to know, especially J.J. Abrams, if he's happening to listen, is that while I'm spending the next 40 to 60 minutes ripping it apart, I want you to know that it's from a place of love. Yes. Or from a place of respect and semi-strong like. Let's go there. I will say overall, before I dive in, that the fact that they didn't really plan out what they were going to do is kind of evident. And some of it is out of their control. I think the original plan was they were not anticipating that Carrie Fisher was going to pass away in between the 2 movies. And so I think that really changed what they could do. I'm sure there were other factors that altered the trajectory. I have a feeling that there was an assumption that The Last Jedi was going to be more well-received than it was. And when that happened, I'm sure that influenced what they were doing with this movie. Interestingly enough, all the things that everyone's complaining about in The Last Jedi were not things that bothered me personally. That's the irony. The big plot twists, the notion of Rey not being related to anybody. I like that idea, which they kind of reversed here. But, all right, so now I'm going to jump in. So this is Star Wars, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Okay, number 1. Palpatine's back. Why is he announcing that he's back? Why is he announcing to the universe that he is back? How does he forget that the first time around he did win? He did win. Because he subtly convinced everybody to vote for him. His plan was better the first time around. Now it feels like it's the WWE. It's just I'm Palpatine. I'm back. Who wants some? I'm the Palp. I'm what's in your orange juice that you don't like. I'm the Palpatine. Who wants some? Bring it on, Palpatine. Very WWE. I don't understand that. It's not a good tactic Unfortunately, though, no one knows where he is, except for some reason, I guess he left behind 2 devices that could help people find him. I get the feeling sometimes deep down he wants to lose. I think he'll do things to self-sabotage, like building the same Death Star twice with the same flaws. I think deep down this guy has got, he's got a fear of success. That's what Palpatine has. Fear of success, totally. I love, and in the opening scene that, where Kylo Ren is going in to meet Palpatine for the first time in Palpatine's giant, I don't know, floating pyramid thing or whatever. And Palpatine says, "I created Snoke." And Kylo Ren walks past these 2, I guess, clones of Snoke that are just sitting there in fluid. I don't know why he's keeping them. It seems like the Snoke plan didn't go as planned, but I've got these 2 Snoke. Well, I made 3. I used 1. I've got 2. I'm not going to throw them away. It took a long time to make them. I'm keeping them here just in case. You can never have too many Snoke clones. That's one thing I've learned. Let me tell you, you can never have too many Snoke clones. Just sitting there. What's he planning to do? Maybe, when he leaves, he doesn't want robbers to think that the place is empty, so he'll bring one of the Snoke clones out, and they'll just kind of, hang around, manage the place, clean up. Here's the thing about Palpatine, too, by the way. How did he survive? They never explain it. We saw him he was falling, and then he appeared to explode at the bottom of the shaft. So I guess he somehow survived the fall, managed to crawl into a ship and fly away before the Death Star blew up. Or he survived the fall, the Death Star blew up, he floated in space, and somehow he landed somewhere and picked himself up, dusted himself off, started all over again. Is that what happened? I don't like that Palpatine just came back. I don't like that. This was one of the things where there wasn't really a plan for it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that he's just, I'm back. So, part of the plot here is they have to find this wayfinder. Why? It helps you find your way. That's why it's called a wayfinder. And at one point, Rey has to use this knife that has, first of all, instructions on how to find the wayfinder. She has to use the knife to find it in the wreckage of the Death Star. So she's standing, first of all, she happens to be standing in the exact right place that the knife works. I don't know how she knew that. She had the Force. Oh, okay, great. That's how we solve problems in the Star Wars universe. Oh, the Force was with him. Okay. How did Palpatine survive? Force. Ah, got it. Force. All right. Say no more. Say no more. So she's standing there, and the edge of the blade of the knife happens to align perfectly with the wreckage of the Death Star. And then there's this little piece of the hilt, or the handguard, that pulls out and literally points to the wreckage of the Death Star where the Wayfinder is found. What? I want you to leave a clue behind about this Wayfinder. What I want you to do is I want you to look at the wreckage of the Death Star, and I want you to sculpt the dagger off of that, and then I want you to write a cryptic passage on it that kind of explains everything but kind of doesn't. And then I want you to put a little arrow in the dagger that points to the place in the wreckage of the Death Star where the Wayfinder is. Wait a minute, Palpatine. It almost sounds like how do you know, if you know that the Death Star is going to be blown up, shouldn't you take action to prevent that? No. Just try. The Force it's the Force, etc., the Force. You got to just do this. All right, fine. What else? Okay, and then you've got to make sure he uses the dagger to kill her parents so that she can have that premonition. That's important. Palpatine, it seems like you're setting yourself up to fail again. Shut up, shut up. I know what I'm doing. I'm the Palp. Okay, so the scene that nails it for me is the scene at the end where Rey enters the lair of Palpatine and she's about to face off with Palpatine, and suddenly, out of nowhere, there is a giant stadium of spectators. We don't know who they are, where they came from. That, to me, is the most hilarious part. That makes the movie worth it right there. Just to analyze this. Now, first of all, there's the thousands of these spectators, and they are all wearing the exact same cloak as the Emperor. All of them. Were the cloaks provided, or did they have to bring their own cloak? That's what I would like to know, because it was pretty uniform. At the very least, I think they had to go to a store that happened to carry that exact brand of cloak. I mean, this was coordinated. They didn't just show up going, wow, you have the same cloak too? Wow, that's crazy. This is crazy. How do we all know? The Force. Oh, that's how. That's why we're doing it. Okay, got it. The Force. Got it. Okay, understood. The Force. Got it. So many observations about this scene. Did the people who sit in the front of this giant stadium pay more than the people who sat in the back? Were there followers of Emperor Palpatine who said, oh, I definitely want to see the day where he ascends and becomes a god, but I'm only paying $20. I don't need to sit up front. Do you need to sit up front, Ethel? No, we don't. We'll sit in the back. It's fine. That way, when we're done, we can be the first out into the parking. We won't have to sit in traffic. That's our plan. No, we usually leave halfway through a clandestine attempt to take over the universe, because usually, when it's a landslide, we don't need to stay the whole way through. Here's my other question, my other observation. She walks in ready to face the Emperor, and the entire crowd is there, ready. How long were they waiting for this to happen? Because it didn't feel, there, at no point was like, someone was like, oh, finally, something's happening. We've been sitting here for days. Like they seemed, ready. Palpatine just kind of knew, all right, next Tuesday at about 5:15 p.m., that's when Rey's going to figure it out. She's going to have her little meeting or a little powwow with the ghost of Luke Skywalker. She's going to figure out that's when she's going to come and fight. So everyone be there, at 4:15. We'll have an opening act. We'll have a band come out. We'll have a comedian warm up the crowd a little bit. What's the deal with life-saving claw devices? It'll be fun. It'll be great. And then Rey is facing off against the Emperor, and Kylo is facing off, or I'm sorry, Ben Solo, because by now he'd been redeemed. Ben and Rey are facing off against the Empire, or the Emperor, and they're facing the Emperor, but their backs are to the whole arena. I wanted someone to be like, hey, you guys need to cheat out. We can't see what you're doing. Hey, can you cheat? Have you guys had no theater training? Do you need to cheat out a little bit? That scene kills me. That's my favorite scene right there. The crowd of spectators, that all wearing the same cloak. That one right there, like I said, worth the whole movie. Oh, this is a line that I enjoyed when Lando Calrissian, as opposed to what, Lando Smith, when Lando appears, and they say you should join the fight, and he says, my flying days are over. He just shot a guy with an arrow from 50 feet away. I think he still got it. Lando, I think you're fine. I think you're good. You shot a guy in the eye with an arrow through his helmet. You're fine. I'm sure you can guide a ship. Okay, so now we get to it here. Okay, guys, Leia. Of course, Carrie Fisher passed away, so they used pre-existing footage of Leia from the previous movie. Or I think from Force Awakens. Now, I appreciate the intention. And the end result is fine, except it's very, very clear that they didn't have that much footage to work with. So it felt almost like watching a scene where the actor forgot their lines and all the other actors around them had to fill in the exposition. Rey. What is it, Leia? Are you telling me that I shouldn't give up on my pursuit of being a Jedi, and that there is always hope, and that I should follow my friends, and that I should use this wayfinder to find the evil Palpatine? Yes. I feel like that's what it was. That's the lost footage, or the footage of Leia, was her going, yeah, all right. What do you think, Jim? Those were the 3 lines, and they had to build the entire thing around that. And it was weird. It was weird to me. It almost felt like they were talking to Lassie. Rey, what is it, Leia? You're saying I need to get the Wayfinder and train to be a Jedi, and that I shouldn't give up, and that the Force will always be with me? Is that what you're saying? Yes. Ah, Leia. God, amazing. That's what I needed to hear. I mean, really, and it just, and I don't know, maybe it's because I, as the audience member, knew that Carrie Fisher had passed away, so I didn't buy it. I mean, at this rate, they could have just cut out, dialogue from other movies she was in. How about a scene where she's holding the machine gun from the Blues Brothers? All right, Leia's ready to fight, guys. Let's do this. Okay, another thing about this movie. Guys, stop adding characters. How are we an hour into this movie? We already have all these other characters from all the other movies. We got to work back in, and suddenly there's Helmet Lady and Horse Woman. What? Hello, I'm Helmet Lady. We have a backstory. I'm going to help you. Hello, I'm Horse Girl. I have a backstory that's similar to your backstory, so I'm going to help you. I don't remember their names. Helmet Lady and Horse Girl. Why are we adding all these characters? We have enough. There's poor Rose Tico over there. She got sidelined. We don't need any more characters. We're good. We're good. Climax of the movie, okay? I'm jumping to the climax of the movie. Rey on the ground. Suddenly, she hears all the voices of all the Jedi who have come before her, willing her to keep fighting. And what I love about this scene, with all those different voices, is that none of them accidentally spoke over each other. Amazing that they all gave each other a chance to speak. At no point was Yoda like, the Force be with you, and then Mace Windu was like, use the Force. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, you go first. No, first you go. No, you go first. No, you go first. I think we're both saying the same thing. What we're both saying is the Force is with you. Love that happened. Would have liked to see the amazing coordination, but it makes sense when they're all, ghosts and they're one with the Force. They're not going to talk over each other. There's not going to be any, not going to be stuttering. There's not going to be any Rey. Rey. Sorry. Rey, you're Rey. Is this Rey? This is Rey, right? I never met her. I was dead before she came along. Rey. Hey, Rey. Use the Force. Of course, there's the great scene where Luke Skywalker pulls the X-Wing out of the water. Boy, these ships can really... Like the Millennium Falcon, you know how many times it's crashed or been shot at? It's doing great. The X-Wing can stay underwater. I think the Force is with whoever's building these ships. And they're always the Rebel ship, not the TIE Fighter. You look at the TIE Fighter, it falls apart. But the X-Wing, man, that just keeps on going. So back in Palpatine's lair, you see all these giant statues of the Sith. And part of me was wondering who made those. And then I thought, Jews, probably. Jewish slaves. Okay, got it. Or the second answer, the Force. They use the Force. They use the Force to sculpt it. It's very opulent, the Sith stronghold with all the statues. It's very opulent. They had to, when they're building it, when all the Sith are, at the top of their game, I guess, that we need to build a palace and we need to make this as opulent as possible. We need big statues. That is what we need. Big, huge statues. The Sith actually, when the first time they tried to take over the galaxy, they had to wait 30 years before the palace was finished. It's like, all right, great, now I can move in and take over the galaxy. Or maybe what they were doing is they were trying to take over the galaxy, but while the big palace was being built, they were operating out of a condo nearby, which was just temporary. And then once the palace was finished, then they moved in, and then they took over the galaxy as per usual. But that just takes forever to build all those statues. And I think even all that, I go back to everyone in the statue had a cloak. I think all the statues had cloaks. That's the big thing. You're a Sith Lord, you wear a cloak. And my question is, why do you need 15 different statues of the same guy in the cloak? The middle of the movie was weird. Because there was a lot of back and forth. Because at one point they were on the ground and Kylo was on the ship. Then Kylo came to the ground and then they were on the ship. And they kept just missing each other. It felt to me, if anything, more like that Scooby-Doo gag where they run through one door, the bad guy follows them, then they run through another door, the bad guy follows them, and then the bad guy runs through the door, and then they're following the bad guy now, and then the third people run through the door, and then insert 70s celebrity here runs through the door, and it's like a big Benny Hill thing. It really wasn't that far away from that. Going the back and forth. Too much back and forth. Too much back and forth going on. I love the moment where the Emperor says, well, Rey is here, and now Skywalker is here. It's a dyad. Not seen before. Like it's not, it's a dyad. Oh, great, dyad. How did he not foresee the dyad? Or did he foresee the dyad? I can't even tell. There's a lot that he, in spite of foreseeing, he has selective foresight. That's the problem with Palpatine, maybe. That's his downfall. He only foresees, a limited part of the picture. He doesn't foresee, Samuel L. Jackson making a voice cameo, defeating him. If he'd have known. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see all these voice cameos. Ashoka too? I didn't see that. How do I conclude? What's my conclusion? What have we learned from this? I don't know. Plan out your trilogy. Do what J. Michael Straczynski does, if I may. Now, the message, of course, at the very end is that Rey, who finds out she's a Palpatine, accepts the name Skywalker. And, who's going to argue with her? Because she has a lightsaber. What are you going to do? You're not going to stop her. No one's left alive to say, well, technically she's a Palpatine. So, yes. But the moral, I suppose, is that we can choose our own destiny. Sort of. We can sort of choose our own destiny. And we can choose whether to be the good guys or the bad guys or the light side or the dark side. We can choose that. We're not a slave. We're not a slave. Oh, I like this. How about this? We're not a slave to the mistakes and the bad patterns of those who came before us. There we go. That's a good message. I like that message right there. I think that's applicable. Just because, my parents went through something or reacted a certain way, that doesn't mean I have to react that way. I still will, but it doesn't mean I have to. I have the ability, for instance, to not worry all the time. I have that ability. I don't have the ability. I don't have the ability. Nope. I'm sorry. I can't. Nope. It's that now. This is the part of it that's a fantasy. In the real world, she would have kept it. She would have stayed a Palpatine. That's all there is to it. Or she would have, been a Palpatine for a while, then she would have gone to a recovery, started a podcast. That's more realistic. Well, those are my 2 cents about Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. This will be a shorter podcast than my usual one, but I don't want to go on for too long. I think really the moral of the story is, when in doubt, palp it out. That's the essence. They didn't know how to end the trilogy. Bring back Palpatine. Revenge of the Sith, best of the prequels. That palp heavy. When in doubt, palp it out. That's the solution. But overall, in spite of all my complaints, cute movie. It was fun. It was nice. A lot of good moments. Is it perfect? No, but what is? And I'm trying to be, less judgmental and just enjoy life and enjoy it. It's a ride. There you go. And you know what? 2 years from now, when they do episodes 10, 11, and 12, and we can all joke about how, they said this was going to be the last one. No, it's not going to be the last one. We'll have a laugh then, and that's what it'll be. Or we'll all be destroyed because there'll be no more Earth left. One of the two. Have a nice day.